Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Sarapi Hari, Radha Sarapi Hari, Radha Sarapi Hari, Shri Radhe. Jaya Jagannatha, Baladeva, Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Gauranitai, Patita Pavana Gauranitai. Jaya Narasimhadev, 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 Jaya Narasimhadev. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Nitai Gaura Haribol, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribol. 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 Nitai Gaura Premanandi.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. I got muted. I didn't meet this one. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare. Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Rama Rama. Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki. We want to welcome His Grace Vishnugada. We are so happy to have Prabhu. It's been a long time since COVID. We've had his presence for our kirtans, and we've had his presence, hearing his nectar on Bhagavatam classes. But it's always nice to have, always nice to have Prabhu when he comes to our temple and gives amazing classes. So please, I request devotees to please come closer. And if we can put our phones on, what do you call that? Silent. Thank you. I was going to say vibrate, but that's not the answer. on silent, and if we can try to have our children stay with us, that way they don't run around. So perfect, wonderful, great. Thank you so much. Prabhu, we welcome you. Thank you so much for.
Do you sing Jaya Radha Madhava? Yes. Do you have kartal? Okay, thank you. You can come closer. It's okay. Ladies are so far away too. So far away.
Ladies can come closer.
If you don't mind. Unless you're leaning against the wall and that's it. Hare Krishna. It's a point of information, these big seats, Srila Prabhupada always had a big seat.
Yeah.
But during Prabhupada's presence on the planet, we never sat on big seat, even for Sunday class or morning class. Did you know that?
Yeah. But he wouldn't, or you're saying
Other devotees never did. So it came only afterwards. So, at least wherever I was. Anyway. So sometimes people get fear of heights. Okay. You know the song Jaya Radha Madhava, right? Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadhari. Jashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Jashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Jamuna Tira Vana Chari. Jamuna Tira Vana Chari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadhari. Jashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paribrajak Acharya Ashtottara Sutta Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashadi Gaur Bhakta Vrindi Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyam Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Jamuna Mai Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Shamaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga Hari Hari Bol. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutare Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Shami Tinamani Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi. What is the next word? How does it go? How does it go? How is it? Paschatya. Yeah, Paschatya. We've been around a long time. A lot of times people can't say that word. Anyway. Deshataranya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're supposed to talk about the Bhagavad Gita today. Yeah. And yesterday, I think many of you were here where they read the whole Bhagavad Gita in English. Is that right? So usually in the class, we recite a verse first and then read a purport by Srila Prabhupada, the founder Acharya. And I know that you might have the Bhagavad Gita on your phone or something. But so I didn't know what verse would characterize an introduction to the Bhagavad Gita. I was thinking about that. And any ideas? That's a good start. Yeah, that's the first. And everybody knows that verse, but I didn't pick that verse. Any other verse? What's that? In the 10th chapter? Yeah. You could do that. Yeah, I could do that. Any other guesses? I mean, those are certainly appropriate and not wrong by any means, but I didn't choose that one. Okay, yeah, Manmana, Bhava, Mad Bhakto. These are all important verses. I didn't pick that either. I'll to cut it short, because I see there's a list here. And we're already a little late. So I picked 2:7. Do you know that one? Karpanya dosho pahatas svabhava prichchami twang dharma samuda cheta yachtrayasyan nishchitan bruhi tanme shishyasteham shadimam tvam prapannam. 2:7. Karpanya dosho pahatas svabhava prichchami twang dharma samuda cheta yachtrayasyan nishchitan bruhi tanme Shishyasteham shadimam twang prapannam. Anybody like to chant? Good, you knew that by heart. Yeah, see, it's an important verse. I wasn't wrong. Anybody else? Let's hear a little vibrations. Come on. Good. How about one lady? She's going to do okay, good. Yes. It's okay. Yes. Very good. Thank you. Karpanya, of miserliness. Dosha, by the weakness. Upahata, being afflicted. Swabhava, characteristics. Prichchami, I am asking. Twang, unto you. Dharma, religion. Samudha, bewildered. Cheta, in heart. Yat, what? Shreya, all good. Syat, may be. Nishchitang, confidently. Bruhi, tell. Tat, that. May, unto me. Shishya, disciple. Te, your. Aham, I am. Shadi, just instruct. Mam, me. Tvam, unto you, Prapannam, surrendered. Now those who had it memorized, can you have the English translation memorized, the meaning? Yes? No. No, that's the important part. Oh, both are important, but no? No? English? Oh, okay. Well, okay. We'll read the English then, just to let you off the hook that way. Now I am confused about my duty and have lost all composure because of miserly weakness. In this condition, I am asking you to tell me for certain what is best for me. Now I am your disciple and a soul surrendered unto you. Please instruct me. Let's repeat one. I'll say, you say, okay? For those who don't have it yet. Okay. Now I am confused about my duty. And have lost all composure because of miserly weakness. In this condition, I am asking you to tell me for certain what is best for me. Now I am your disciple and a soul surrendered unto you. Please instruct me. Purport. By nature's own way, the complete system of material activities is a source of perplexity for everyone. In every step, there is perplexity. And therefore, it behooves one to approach a bona fide spiritual master who can give one proper guidance for executing the purpose of life. All Vedic literature advises us to approach a bona fide spiritual master to get free from the perplexities of life which happen without our desire. They are like a forest fire that sometimes blazes without being set by anyone. Similarly, the world situation is such that perplexities of life automatically appear without our wanting such confusion. No one wants fire, and yet it takes place and we become perplexed. The Vedic wisdom, therefore, advises that in order to solve the perplexities of life and to understand the science of the solution, one must approach a spiritual master who is in the disciplic succession. A person who is with a bona fide spiritual master is supposed to know everything. One should not, therefore, remain in material perplexities, but should approach a spiritual master. That is the purport of this verse. Who is the man, no ladies, in material perplexities? It is he who does not understand the problems of life. In the Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad 3.8.10, the perplexed man is described as follows. You can say it? You can. Go ahead, you say. He is a miserly man, thank you, who does not solve the problems of life as a human and who thus quits this world like the cats and dogs, without understanding the science of science of self-realization. This human form of life is a most valuable asset for the living entity, who can utilize it for solving the problems of life. Therefore, one who does not utilize this opportunity properly is a miser. What's your definition of miser? Stingy, yeah. In what way? Stingy and how? What way? Yeah, it's that with their money. Yeah, they have this. They have a lot of money, but they kept it stuffed in their mattress, or they keep it. They keep it in the. They keep it in the bank, and they look at the bank, but they never spend it. Right. So what's the analogy here? What's the analogy of a material person is called a materialistic person is called a creepan, or a creep, if you want to go that way. A creepan, which is a miser. So what's the analogy? Yes.
I think what Srila Prabhupada is saying, although this human form is the most valuable asset one has got, we are not using it properly.
Oh, we're not spending it, using it. Yeah. So like the money isn't being used, so this human form of life is a great treasure. But most of us waste it and or don't use it, don't spend it properly, just keep it. Yeah, so okay, very good, thank you. Is a most valuable asset for the living entity who can utilize it for solving the problems of life. On the other hand, there is the Brahman, or he who is intelligent enough to utilize this body to solve all the problems of life. Ya etad aksharam gargi vidisva bala. It's just the lights are kind of dark. Lokat prati sa brahmana. Okay. I'm going to stop here for a second. Om jnana timirandhasya jnananjana shalakaya chakshur militam jena tasmai shri gurave nama. Shri chaitanya manobhishtam stapitam jena bhutale svayam rupa kadamahyam dadati shapandantikam. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Before talking too much, I'd like to get the blessings and permission from those who are senior by age or by advancement in Krishna consciousness. Sorry, we're supposed to do that. Do you know that? There's a discussion in Srimad Bhagavatam. Vidura was getting instruction. And so Uddhava was there. You know Uddhava? Who's Uddhava? Huh? Friend, yeah. Cousin, like, yeah. Very, very intimate person. Great devotee. And also Maitreya Muni was there. So Vidura asked questions. And there was a question of who would answer, Vidura or Maitreya Muni. Who answered? Who answered the questions? Yeah, and why was that? He was senior, that's right. Just even though Uddhava was more advanced in Krishna consciousness, but still Maitreya was senior. So anyway, so you have to get permission. You got to get permission, really. And, on one hand, somebody could be more senior by age or by advancement, you don't know, by advancement in Krishna consciousness. So we're talking about Bhagavad Gita, and the reason I chose that verse is because as we know that everybody, we're all in this situation in life, we're all in the same boat, because sooner or later, the bad news is that sooner or later, we're all going to face all kinds of difficulties. Everybody. Doesn't matter if you're very rich, doesn't matter if you're an American or a Chinaman or a European, doesn't matter. A man, woman, everybody will face problems. And why is that? The source of our problems, according to Bhagavad Gita, the cause of our problems is ignorance, ajnana, ignorance of who we are. What are we supposed to be doing in life? Is there God? How do we know about it? These things. And the Bhagavad Gita was very kindly spoken to Arjuna as the representative of everyone to lift him out of that condition of ignorance. So this is not a sectarian philosophy. You know, just like gold is gold. You don't say it's Hindu gold or Christian gold or Jewish gold, right? It's gold. Same thing with knowledge. Real knowledge is not sectarian. So this knowledge is present, and it's been present since millions of years. Srila Prabhupada gives the example. You know, when you buy a new electronic gadget, say you buy a new notebook computer. Do you have a computer? Everybody has a computer. Or you get your phone, right? You buy it, you might get it from Amazon, you get it in the mail. And what comes along with the gadget? That's right. And what else? A manual. Yeah, a manual. You get a manual. As soon as something's created, a new thing, you have a manual that goes along with it to show you how it works. How does it work? How are you supposed to work it? And, you know, especially if you get a computer, I don't know if you when you got your computer last time, they gave you more than one manual, isn't it? Yeah, they give you the you know, complete manual, and they give you a little, you know, short one for if you want to really get just the essential parts, right? Yeah. So when Lord Krishna created this universe, the material tabernacle, the material universe, the Vedas are the manual that goes along with it. And the essential part, that's Bhagavad Gita, that, you know, the essential part. Because in the Vedas, there's so many different parts of the Vedas, you know, Yajur Veda, Rig Veda, Atharva Veda, Sama Veda, and Ayurveda, Dhanar Veda, so many different parts. And you can, because it's vast, you can get confused. You know, there used to be, back in the old days, there used to be newspapers. You remember newspapers? So in newspapers, if they wanted, you know, there's a lot of pages, and if you wanted to, they didn't want you to read something, they put it in the middle or the back section, isn't it? You didn't put it on the headline. Yeah. So the Vedas are so vast, sometimes the important stuff gets lost in the middle pages. So Bhagavad Gita, it's putting the important stuff on the headline. You follow? If this is Bhagavad Gita, it's the important stuff on the headline. Okay. So the knowledge is not different for different people, different backgrounds. There's the big manual and the small manual. This wisdom doesn't change according to the time. People have different careers, and there's, somebody might be a chemist, or somebody may be a psychologist, somebody may be a, engineer. And according as the time passes, you have to brush up on because the wisdom, the knowledge changes. But Bhagavad Gita is timeless. Krishna says in the 4th chapter that he spoke this same knowledge to the sun god, the president of the sun, millions of years ago. It's like I said, so this is because it's transcendental. You know what the word transcendental means? We like to say transcendental. Sounds cool. Transcendental, right? What does transcendental mean? Divya, yeah, that's Sanskrit, just a Sanskrit. But what it means, transcendental means it's beyond time, beyond the influence of time. That's what it means. So transcendental, the book Bhagavad Gita is transcendental. It means it's not dependent on your location or how, the year, the date, the modernity of your place. No, it applies across the board, everywhere, which is very, very nice. And is this, people have different preferences in the books they read. Some people like fiction, and some people like nonfiction. And what is Bhagavad Gita classified as? Fiction or nonfiction? Was it? Nonfiction. Then that's a little controversial, because some people have interpreted it in certain ways to think that this is all kind of an allegory, that there really was no Kurukshetra, there really was no Pandavas. The Pandavas meant the 5 senses and all this kind of stuff. But that's not the teaching of the great authorities or the acharyas. This is actually took place. It actually took place. Bhagavad Gita is part of a larger book called the Mahabharata, right? The Mahabharata. And in the Mahabharata, how do we tell time and dates? Well, we tell time and dates because somebody wrote this is how many years AD or BC, right? From birth of Christ. Or in Vaishnava, you do Gaurabda, you know this? Gaurabda, from how many years since Lord Chaitanya. In the Mahabharata, that's not how they describe time. They describe time, you know how? Huh? Well, yeah, I mean, that's the name of it, but how did they know? The way they knew time is the way where the constellations were. You say nakshatra, nakshatra, nakshatra. And in the Mahabharata, there's lots of different descriptions of the nakshatra, when the Kurukshetra war was happened, when this happened, when that happened. So, when did this take place? Well, so there was an astronomer called Aryabhat. Have you ever heard of Aryabhat? He was in the 500 AD. Yeah. Anyway, he was very, very influential, and the Muslims, they got their ability to calculate astrology and astronomy from him. But he calculated using the nakshatra placements at the time described in the Mahabharata, how long back it was. And you know what he came up with? Yeah, 3100 BC. So it's 5,000 years ago. Yeah. So it's not just, it's an event that happened in time. Now, if you look about it, the speaker of the Bhagavad Gita, that's Lord Krishna. And we say Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or God. Now, you don't have to necessarily accept that up front. We can just take it that, let's think about it theoretically. We'll accept it theoretically just to work on this. Now, I was trying to think about circumstances in life where people make important speeches to gatherings. And I thought of a few. I don't know. One I thought was the State of the Union address. Did you think of that? Yeah, State of the Union. Or sometimes people get in front of their stockholders and they make a speech. And like for the State of the Union address, people around, because the United States is such an important country, at least we think they are, that people around the world pay attention, because what the president at the time is saying is going to influence their a lot of different policies in the world. So people pay attention. And, when the president speaks, there's a good audience, and also, but, he has a speechwriter, doesn't he? Yeah, he has a speechwriter. Did Krishna have a speechwriter for this? You're sure of that? And they have something called a teleprompter, right? A teleprompter. So Bhagavad Gita, there's no teleprompter, right? Krishna didn't have his notes with him. You know how sometimes we give a talk and we have our note cards. He says, oh, this is what I'm supposed to say. I got my notes here. But Krishna had no notes. Nor was there a sound system. So he did it spontaneously. How was that? Because he's the reservoir of all knowledge. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He can do that. This is timeless, vast, deep wisdom that you can't just come up with that unless you're the source of that wisdom. So it's very interesting how Lord Krishna did that in the middle of this battle where, you're thinking, usually if you're going to have a fight in a short time, if you were me, you'd get very distracted, wouldn't you? You're about to have a battle where you're going to get killed or you might get killed. Think about it. But Lord Krishna was so equipoised, he could deliver this. And this isn't just some story, but it's deep philosophy about the purposes of life. So Srila Prabhupada describes in Bhagavad Gita, there's 5 subject matters that we find in Bhagavad Gita that are covered. This is philosophy. You know those 5 things that are covered? It's detailed, scientific, exact knowledge. First thing, Ishwar. What is Ishwar? God, yeah, God. Ishwara, the God. Then the second, Jiva, who we are. Jiva. Then what's the next thing? Next topic. Prakriti. Prakriti means this material world. What is this? How does this work? Then Kala, time. And finally, activities. Yeah, activity. These 5 things. Now, these 5 things may be described in different places, in different philosophies, and different teachings and stuff like that. But in Bhagavad Gita, they're described in greater and more clear detail than anywhere else you'll find. This is, you can compare it. And we can make some descriptions about that. We'll talk about it. Examples of that, how that's true. That these 5 items are given in great detail. Srila Prabhupada gives the example, and I know that it sounds a little bit contradictory to the example I gave of the shortened manual, but just like you have the. Did you ever have to use a pocket dictionary? And what are the big dictionaries called? Oxford Unabridged, yeah, Oxford, the Oxford English Dictionary, the big ones. Yeah. So everything you find in the pocket dictionary is in the Oxford Dictionary, isn't it? But what is in the Oxford Dictionary? How come it's like, this big, whereas the pocket dictionary is this big? Why? It has more than to do than just the font. More than the font. Why is the Oxford Dictionary so giant? Yeah, it doesn't include everything. It's cut down. Yeah. So Bhagavad Gita, even though you remember what I said before was that it's a small manual, still compared to everything else, it's gigantic. It's like the Oxford Dictionary because it gives detailed knowledge about all these different things that we just mentioned that are really, really important. Oxford Dictionary. I'll give an example. Sometimes, we worship and practice our bhakti in relation to Krishna, and we worship his deity form, whether it's as Lord Chaitanya or as Jagannath or Radha Krishna. So some people object to that. They say, you're worshiping an idol. You're worship, or they think the specific term is a graven image. Have you ever heard that? You're worshiping a graven image, which is in the Bible. They say you can't do that. So what was Srila Prabhupada's response to that when he was said that question? Anybody? Come on, He said, image means imagination. You didn't know that? Yeah, image means imagination. And I thought, when I first heard that, I'm just telling you, when I first heard that, I thought, well, that's my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, is saying that, and I respect him and all that. I thought, maybe it's a little bit of word jugglery there. I admit. So then one time I was looking in a big dictionary. I looked up image. First thing is, form. Second definition, something conjured by imagination. That's right. Image means imagination. So nobody made up these forms. They're given in the Shastras. They're given by the great authorities. Yeah, right. Shyamang tribangna lalitam Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Putare Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharani Dimashesha Shunyavadi Paschachistari. So, that's the big dictionary. It just gives you more detail, more information. And if your goal is to become attracted or to develop affection for God, then the more information and detail you have about God or Krishna, then much easier it will be to be attracted and develop affection and interest in God. If you just know, oh, he's an old man, oh. So Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita gives very specific, very detailed information. It's introductory, but information about himself, his personality, what he does, how he acts, and things like this. This is very, very interesting stuff. Ishvara. So another thing, right from the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, we're talking about, understanding the details of God. Lord Krishna is identified right from the beginning as Bhagavan, right? Bhagavan. So we have an idea of God. In the Vedic scriptures, God is often described as Bhagavan. Bhaga means opulence, and Van means possessor of. Now, in the Western side, usually you think about God, and people have a bunch of words to describe God. This omni word, omni prefix? There's omniferous, omnibus, what are some other? Omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient, omni. What does that omni prefix mean? Yeah, I looked it up in an Oxford dictionary. And omni means, they don't know where it comes from, according to the Oxford. They don't know. But it was used in Latin to mean all, or all, everything, complete. Okay, so in the Western conception of God, they say that God is omnipotent, means all-powerful, right? All-powerful. So how does that translate into the Vedic understanding of God as Bhagavan? I'm asking. That wasn't a rhetorical question. Yeah, but but omnipotent, where does it fit in Bhagavan? What? Yeah, Bhagavan. But so usually you're thinking Aishvaryasya Samagrasya Viryasya Yashashashriya Jnana Vairagyaschapi. What is that? Sannam Bhaga Itingana. Yeah, there's Aishvaryasya means wealth. Samagrasya Viryasya, strength. Yashasha, fame. Shriya, beauty. Jnana, knowledge. Vairagya, renunciation. So where does the omnipotence fit into that list of 6 of Bhagavan? Where is it? I'm going for something, yeah? Strength. Usually people will say strength, right? Virya. Omnipotent, usually you think it's going to be virya. So we could come up with omnipotence, we could come up with omniscience and omnipresent. But where's the beauty? Where's beauty? Where's fame? Where's renunciation? You don't find it. So if you step back a little bit. So power, potency, a part of potency is beauty, isn't it? If someone is very beautiful, that's a power, isn't it? Isn't that power? Oh, yeah. And if someone is very famous, that's power. That's power. And another thing, it's not mentioned in the Bhagavan, but also omnipotence, another aspect of omnipotence which is described in Bhagavad Gita is that everything that's associated with him has his potency. omnipotent. Everything associated with him has his potency. So, for example, his name, just like devotees were chanting, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. So the name of God, because he's omnipotent, has the same potency of God. His place, his dham, all this is, so in the Vedic conception, it expands the understanding of God more fully. You follow? Does this make sense? Is this making sense to you? The details are there. Bhagavan. And then if you want to know about omnipresent, so the conception is, what does omnipresent mean? Present everywhere, yeah. Well, how is God present everywhere? What does that mean? Is he like Santa Claus? He knows if you've been, anyway, that's Christmas season. But Krishna describes, it's described in Bhagavad Gita, Sarvasya chaham ridishani vishto matas smritir jnanam apohanam cha. I am situated within everyone's heart as super soul. And from me comes knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. Yeah, he's situated with, and then he says, just like the sun and the sunshine, there, you say the sun is coming through the window, but it's not the sun planet, it's the energy of the sun. So God is also present by his energy everywhere, because he claims the material and spiritual energy are coming from him. So he's present in that sense as well as his presence in the heart of every living entity, within the atom and between the atoms. So omnipresent is there in the Vedic conception, but it's given more detailed understanding, and it's there as described in Bhagavad Gita. Omniscience. We already talked about Krishna's full knowledge, and we showed how he's speaking on the battlefield of Kurukshetra extemporaneously. I mean, you were listening to Bhagavad Gita, some of you, yesterday, for 3 hours? And my God, that was like unbelievable stuff being talked about, because it doesn't get in. There's so much stuff. And he was just, yeah. Bhagavad Gita, yeah. But Krishna says then specifically, Vedaham samatitani vartamanani charjuna bhavishyani cha bhutani mam tu vedana kashchana. He's establishing himself as that, who is that? Vedaham samatit, I know everything. Past, present, and future. Past, present, and future, he knows. I know all living entities. I know everybody. How is it that when Brahma came and he wanted to test Krishna, he stole all Krishna's calves and cowherd boyfriends for a year? And Krishna, Lord Krishna, immediately expanded himself into all those cowherd boys and calves, each one of them with their particular personality, their particular way of dress, their particular way of talking. He knew exactly every single one of them because he's Bhagavan. He's God. So this is detailed information about his opulences. You follow. So this is available in the Bhagavad Gita. So that was Ishwara. Oh boy, I see it's 5 minutes to 6. I think the Arti starts at 6, right?
Well, it's 10 minutes late, so 6:15 is good.
Okay. So, and another, we were talking about his position as being God. So some people might say, well, Arjuna and the Bhagavad Gita is a discussion between Lord Krishna and his friend, Arjuna. And sometimes when you talk to a friend, you like to butter them up a little bit. You don't want to put them down. You want to encourage them, right? So some people say, well, Krishna was just being encouraged by Arjuna, saying he's a great personality. Which, okay, well, that's an argument you could put forward. But what Arjuna, when he begins to understand Krishna more fully, he says, Param Brahma, Param Dhama, pavitam paramam bhavan, purusham shasvatam divyam, adidevam ajam vibhum. You are the Supreme Spirit. All of us are spirit, but none of us are the Supreme Spirit. We're all Brahman. Each jiva, each soul, this is very, very detailed information also, has the same quality as God. Just like a drop of water from the ocean has the same quality as the ocean. But in quantity, how is it? Tiny, infinitesimal to gigantic ocean. So similarly, the soul, infinitesimal, tiny, fragmental spiritual spark compared to the great Parabrahman. So we're Parabrahman, Paramdhamma, the supreme destination for all of us. So, we were talking in the purport about Kripana and Brahmana, that the purpose of life is not pursued by the Kripanas, the misers. Yeah. So this goal, although everybody has an individual, they have their individual personalities and interim goals in their life. Someone may want to go to college or get a raise or have kids or whatever, get married, all these things. These are interim goals. But above an overarching goal for everyone within this world is to understand themselves and their relationship with God. That's an overarching goal that's given by Lord Krishna. Therefore, the Vedas say, Asato ma sadgamaya, right? What's the next one? Tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mrityoma amritam gamaya. Yeah, it's time to get out of this. In the material world, we're talking about material world, things are always changing, everything's changing. Even though the energy itself is constant, the manifestations of the energy, everything is going to change. You can't rely on it. It's not going to be, it's not going to remain forever. Asat, therefore it's asat. Doesn't mean it's not true, but its manifestation is temporary. The body is temporary. Your house is temporary. Your bank balance is temporary. All the relationships are temporary. Asato ma sadgabaya. Find that relationship and that position that doesn't change, that's eternal, sadgamaya. This material world is full of darkness. The sun goes down, it's dark. It's dark. It needs light, it needs the light. But Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, natad bhasyate suryo nashashanko napavaka. In that place, beyond this material world, there's a transcendental world. And that's your real place of destination in your home. Tadhama paramamama, that's my place. And if you leave this material world by devotion, you can go there and you never have to come back here again. This is, he's giving you a promise. He says, I promise you this. Pratijani prayosimi, I promise you this. This is very, very nice. So, tamasoma, jyoti, go from the darkness. Jyoti means the light. That's the spiritual world. It doesn't need any illumination. Everything is spontaneously luminous. The soul, by its nature, is luminous. And now it's covered by this material body. And then mrityoma, amritya gamaya. This get out of the death. Get out of death. People in general don't realize that you can become deathless. That was just considered like a fairy tale, Srila Prabhupada was very fond of talking about how when he first went in 1971 to Moscow, who did he meet there in Moscow? Yeah, who's that? Yes, Professor Katowski. Who you know who Professor Katowski was? He was the head of the Indology department in Moscow University. He was a big shot. But Srila Prabhupada took him to be like the representative of all kind of intellectuals and scientists and stuff like that. So they're discussing. And of course, Professor Katowski, at that time, it was the communist regime. He was trying to advocate for, the real thing in life is communism. And Srila Prabhupada was accommodating. He said, well, you say everybody's got to follow Lenin. We say everybody should follow Krishna. The same idea. You have to follow the leader, right? Then you say everything belongs to the state, we think everything belongs to Krishna. Similar idea. So then, but Srila Prabhupada, then he said that, the main purpose of, people forget that the purpose of life is to become free from birth and death and revive their eternal life. And you know what Professor Katowski said? He said, yeah, like that. He said, Swamiji, I have to tell you. He said, Swamiji, I have to tell you. After the body dies, the soul also dies. There's nothing after that. He said that. And Srila Prabhupada marked that. Because, that's the thought of practically every, highly educated person, unfortunately. And here, now if you think about it, step back for a moment. Here's Srila Prabhupada. He's a fully realized soul. He knows that the soul is eternal. He knows that the soul never dies. And here's this person piping off on this supposed knowledge. Isn't that interesting, right? Prabhupada knows that the soul is eternal. There's no question about it because he's realized it. Bhagavad Gita says, Raja Vidya, Raja Guyam, Pavitam Idamuttamam, Pratyakshavagamam Dharmyam. It's not just somebody has a philosophy. I have my philosophy, you have your philosophy, and we talk and we can argue. But this is not only a philosophy, but it can be realized by direct perception. So Srila Prabhupada sees the soul. He understands the soul perfectly. So for someone to make the quip, oh, Swamiji, after death of the body, everything is finished, there's nothing else. That would be ludicrous, right? But still, this person is posing as a great, educated person. So we talked about Ishvara. We can talk about, then there's the jiva. We mentioned a little bit about the jiva. Jiva means the soul, the identity of the soul. And so in Bhagavad Gita, it's the very, very beginning of Bhagavad Gita gives a very detailed analysis of the soul, and the soul being the source of consciousness, not only in human beings, but in all living entities. This is revolutionary. The soul is animated and the source of consciousness for every living being. And he gives a little description. Krishna does. He said, Dehinosmin yata dehe komaram yovanam jara tata dehantara praptir dhiras tatra namuhyati. Just like in this life, you've passed from childhood. You remember being a kid? You have your pictures. Did your mom make pictures of you as a kid? My mom made pictures of me when I was a kid. See, they used to make pictures. They used to dress me up as a caveman, and I had a little club in my hand. See, yeah. That was they did. Anyway, where's that little kid now? Where's that little boy now? Same soul changing the body. And vasamsi janani yata vihaya. Just like you get your dress gets old after a while, it gets tattered or gets soiled too much, you throw it away, you put a new one on. So similarly, all of you, every single one of you, without exception, you've gone through different material lives. And you will continue to go through different material lives. And how does that happen? The mechanism or the function of how that takes place is also described in Bhagavad Gita. Is it just at random? Somebody flips into a different life or gets this life or that life? No. Yabhyam vapi smaram bhavam tyajanti ante kalevaram. How you get your next birth is by your consciousness, how you develop it in this life. So what an effort should be to purify the consciousness, to elevate it. There's different worlds in this universe. Generally speaking, there's the upper, middle, and lower planetary systems. You know about this? Trilokya, the three worlds. And people might think this is a little bit out there. And it is. It is. I'd advise you to get one book called, by my godbrother Sadaputa, a scientist. He wrote one book called Alien Identities. Very good book. You study, you read that book. It gives incredibly detailed information about contacting people from other worlds. Not just, hearsay, but specific experience. And I mean, we're talking just about the material world. So there's activities that you can do in this life where you can go up to a better world, like, people like to visit Hawaii or something, because it's nice there. So there's planets in this world that are in this universe that are better. There's, you can, if you're in the mode of passion, you can stay in this kind of earthly type existence, or you can also go down to a more hellish, a difficult life where things are even more painful than in this life, in this world, but according to your activities. That's described there in the Bhagavad Gita. So the soul's existence, it can't be cut by any weapon, it can't be burned by fire, it can't be dried or in science, they when they want to study something, you know what they do? They kind of cut it up into little slices, you know this, and they put it under a microscope. Anybody, yeah. Or they burn it in a Bunsen burner and they see what the residue is, right? Or they put it under a, so all these things you can't do to the soul. It's not possible. And then Krishna says, Najayate mriyate vakadachin. The soul, you can't create it. It can never be created. So in this world, everybody's thinking, well, life is coming from a combination of different chemical agents. You put them together in a certain very complex way, and then you get life, isn't it? That's what people think. That's what people think. But that's a mistake, according to Krishna. It never happened. People have been trying to do that for thousands and thousands of years, and it hasn't. But they say, "Oh, very soon we're going to get it. Very soon." When I was in school, we learned about coacervates. You know what a coacervate is? You don't learn about coacervates. Even today, if you go to websites and look under, you'll find what a coacervate is. It'll say it's the building block of life. So coacervate is like a colloidal solution. It just means you can have a blob of water with some drops of oil in it. That's a coacervate. Or it can be a blob of oil with some drops of liquid in it. That's a coacervate. So in the olden days, back in the 1800s, the microscopes were very, very rudimentary. So they look at a coacervate, a blob with some stuff inside, and they look at a cell, which is just some blob with some stuff inside and a little bag around it. They say, well, that just flopped into this. It just happened that way. Coacervates are the building blocks of life. You follow? Are you following? You following me? But now they have very advanced microscopes. They can see that there's all these different parts of the cell that are very, very complex, even more complex than a computer. Where do you see a computer that's been developed by a random combination of elements? You don't find that. But still, they're clinging to this idea that it happened just by. But Bhagavad Gita says, no, never happened. Will never ever happen. The life is different. It's qualitatively different than matter. Seems common sense, right? Common sense. But even a kid can understand, but that's the way the world is going. Life is coming from matter. And since you're only material, the whole purpose of your life is to get a lot of material stuff, as much as you can get, so you can enjoy life for as long as you're here, right? That's it. So anyway, okay, we talked about the Ishvara, we talked about Jiva, we talked about the material world briefly, material world, and karma. So you can use your karma. So time means this whole material manifestation is going to be over sometime soon. I remember when I was a kid, they used to, scientists used to say, well, the sun maybe in 5 million years is going to burn out. Did you ever hear that stuff? I used to be really worried about that. Of course, it's true. I remember thinking, the sun's going to burn out. Uh-oh. Well, not only Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that this whole universe is going to be over after a short time, isn't it? Sahasra yuga pariyantama hariyad brahmano vidu. The whole universe is going to be destroyed after a certain period of time. Every day of Brahma, But beyond this manifested world, parastastat bhavanyo vyakto vyaktat sanatana. There's an eternal world beyond this universe which is manifest and unmanifested at certain times. That's time. And then the last thing is karma. We talked about karma. You can use your activities. By the nature of the soul is action. The soul can be active. That's the nature of life, is activity. So direct your activity in such a way that you lift yourself and elevate yourself and purify yourself to get a better destination. That's the Krishna's recommendation, as you mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. If manmana, devotional service means, there was a famous president who said, ask not. You know this one? Ask not. What is it? Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what is it? Okay. So Krishna's message is not exactly that. It's something a little bit different. It says, ask not what Krishna can do for you. Ask what you can do for Krishna. That's called devotional service. Devotional service. How can you do something to please God? And that's described in Bhagavad Gita very nicely. So that's 6:15. Jai. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutare Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisheshunyavadi Paschati Dishatarine. Hare Krishna. What is that? Okay. Oh, before I do the questions, see this book here? I don't know if anyone, Rethinking Darwin. It's very, very nice. You have it? Yeah. It gives a very concise, brief description about the Vedic concept in terms of contrasting the Darwinian concept. It's very, very, very good. Okay. Question? Any questions? Yes, sir.
Thank you so much for coming. I hope you'll come on a regular basis. Just going back to a very early part of your talk, you were talking about Bhagavad Gita is not sectarian. That's something I'm thinking about a lot. But I'm just thinking, how does that look? Because if someone were to come, let's say they're a member of another religion, they say, "Oh, I'm Muslim," I've heard that your Bhagavad Gita is not sectarian. I'm just thinking if they come, they say, "Oh, okay, so I can keep going to my mosque and I can keep, worshiping Allah and this, that." It feels like it would be like, that's not sectarian, but you should come here and you should worship Krishna and you should wear a dhoti and I don't know. So I just wanted to see what your thoughts are. Because Prabhupada says that a lot, right? We're not converting anybody. Yeah, this is like the science, like you're saying. So what does that look like? Because it feels like, really, if someone were to come to an ISKCON temple and say, "Oh, I don't want to become one of you guys, but I've heard it's non-sectarian." It feels like in the end our message would seem like it is sectarian. We're really saying, join us, stop everything you're doing and what you're doing and become one of us.
So that's a good question. As you mentioned, Srila Prabhupada often said that it's non-sectarian. And so in different religions, there was a guy who used to come to the New York temple who was a Muslim. And he would sit in front of in the altar and he would chant 99 names of Allah, which is one of the practices. Chant the names, 99 names of Allah. So I talked to him and I said, well, how come you're coming here? Why don't you just do it at your mosque? So he said, well, nobody wants me to do it there. If they see me, they come and they tell me to do something else. So he comes to the Hare Krishna temple to chant the 99 names of Allah. Well, it's very interesting, very interesting. I mean, your point is, I wasn't trying to pressure him to chant Hare Krishna, but I thought it was a great thing. It was a great thing he's chanting. And Lord Chaitanya said, Nam nama kari bahuda nija sarva shakti tatarpita niyamata smaranena kala. Any name, a bona fide name of God, you can chant. So, but of course, if someone reads, if someone wants to read the Bhagavad Gita and they get some further description and understanding of that, they can follow. They have, in some Christian, they have the Holy Host. What is that? What is that? What is that? You don't know Catholics? Any Catholics here? Yeah. What is that Holy Host? It's a little wafer, right? It's a little wafer. It's a little wafer, and then they drink the blood, and yeah. So I mean, they when they do it, they offer it to the altar. They take it and they offer it on the altar, right? That's what they do. Okay. Yeah. Krishna says something similar. Offer me whatever you eat. Offer it to me, and it should be in these categories. So, we're not, you can do it this way, but of course, everything you eat can be offered. That's great. So if you want to do this, you can, but you can do that also. Expand, yeah. If there's, in most religions, there's a praying. You want to pray. Srila Prabhupada was in Ohio State University. That was 1969. Ohio State, in Columbus, right? You were nearby there, right? In Vrindavan, wasn't that far? Okay. So he was speaking in the assembly of students there, and he said, we're asking people to develop love of God, and he said, if you pray, "Oh God, give me my bread, daily bread," he said, really, that's love of bread. That's not love of God. And you know what happened? It was really, the students stood up and applauded all together in unison at that, by that statement. So the prayer is there, yeah. The prayer is there. And, so Lord Chaitanya said, pray. Nadanam, najanam, nasundarim, kavitam, vajagadish. I don't want any of that stuff. Just let me be what can I do for you? So people, they can get stuff out of that. But as you said, Prabhupada wasn't encouraging people to stop being the Christian, but if they can grab some stuff from his to add to their life, that's very nice. That's how I see it. And, when I first heard about chanting God's names, I read a book called Franny and Zoe. J.D. Salinger, yeah, Catcher in the Rye. So Zoe, I forget, it was either Franny or Zoe. She was a co-ed, and she read this book called The Way of a Pilgrim, which is about a guy in Russia who was chanting the names of God all the time because he heard it from a priest when he was a kid that you should always pray. So he was chanting that's how I first heard about chanting the names of God. So, hey, he's a Christian chanting God's names. Yeah. And it's a step-by-step. In that book, step-by-step, he goes to spiritual realization just by chanting the names of God. Christian background. That's not a very good answer, but I did it. Hare Krishna. I think it's way past time, I'm sure. Oh, yeah?
So, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So my question is, you made a point that soul cannot be created, cannot be destroyed, or it cannot be burned. So I was discussing this topic with my few intellectual friends. They are from a science background, especially from the biotechnology background, and they give me the counter example of that. Modern technology, is successful of creating a soul in the lab. What they mean by cloning technology. So what's your thoughts on that?
Cloning means they took it from someplace else.
Yeah,
That's all. They didn't create it. They took it from some other place.
thank you.
They didn't create there's some things like, you have a frog egg and you tweak it and do certain things. There'll be another, you can make it split and have another 2 frog eggs, both fertilized, you know that? But they didn't create the frog egg in the beginning. Now, if they were really good, they could take some, a chicken egg, right? It's just a plastic shell with some yellow stuff, and some white stuff and put it together and make a chicken, right? Or a little ant, make an ant. You don't have to, we're not talking about making a big human being. You just make one ant, a fly, nothing. Nothing in hundreds of years, nobody. Yes?
How were souls firstly made?
What's that?
How did souls get made?
Krishna's expansion, just like the sun and the sunshine. As soon as you've got the sun, you got the sunshine. As soon as you got Krishna, then the souls are the energy of Krishna. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Mam evangsho angsha jiva loke. The jivas are my fragmental parts. Because God is eternal, so his souls are eternal also. So sometimes people, like we mentioned here, people say, well, who made God? Have you ever heard that question? Who made God? So that's just a misunderstanding, because God means the origin of everything. That's what God means, the original. So, so along with, just like when you're born, your hand is born at the same time. Your arm is born, your leg is born. It's the same time. So Krishna is existing. So same as the souls are part and parcel of him. They're also existing eternally. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Vancha kalpatarubhishya kripa sindhubhya vichapatitam pavanabhyo vaishnavyo namaha. Thank you very much. There's Arti now.
We started a few months back and we started going.
They have the words there? Where are the words? What do we use? Okay. It's a little low here. No, I'd rather use the drum if you have the drum. I'd rather use the drum. It's okay. The drum, I'd rather use the drum.
Oh, you want to go down there?
Yeah, it's okay. If it's okay. This one or that one, doesn't matter. Is this yours? Uh-oh. I hope I won't break it. Do they have flowers that they offer? Okay.
That's the idea.
Okay. Where are the words for the people? They have words for the people? Sri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Saddha. Yeah. Bandomvi Shabdhan Mate Jahar Prashade Bhai E Bhava Toriya Jai. Krishna Prapti Hai Jaha Hoite Guru Mukha Padma Bhakya Chitete Koriya Aikya Arnaka Diho Mande Asha Arnaka Diho Mande Asha Shri Guru Charane Rati Aise Uttama Gati Jai Prasade Pure Sarva Asha Jai Prasade Pure Sarva Asha Chakudan dilo je janme janme Prabhu se Chakudan dilo je janme janme Prabhu se Divya Gyan Hriday Prakashita Divya Gyan Hriday Prakashita Prema Bhakti Jahate Avidya Vinasha Jate Prema Bhakti Jahate Avidya Vinasha Jate Vedega Jahar Charita Vedega Jahar Charita Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adhamajanar Bandhu Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adhamajanar Bandhu Lokana Lokera Jibana Lokana Loker Jibana Ha Prabhu Korodaya De Hamare Padachaya Ha Prabhu Korodaya De Hamare Padachaya Ebe Jas Kushu Tribu Balna Ebe Jas Kushu Tribu Balna Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Namaya Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Watch this.
Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Paladadayini Hiranyakashipu Vakshaha Silatanka Nakalaye Ito nestingo parado nestingo Ito nestingo parado nestingo Yato yato ya mitato nestingo Bahir nestingo hidaye nestingo Narastinga madi sharanam papadi Avakana kamaravare Naka Adhuta Singha Alita Hiranyakasipu Dano Bringa Ishavadisha Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Keshavadita Narahari Rupa Jayagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Nasingade, Jaya Nasingade, Jaya Nasingade, Jaya Nasingade. Jaya Palana, Jaya Palana, Jaya Palana, Jaya Palana. Haribo, 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 Nitakora Haribo. Nitakora Haribo, 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 Nitakora Haribo. सिंह भगवान की प्रहलाद महाराज की गौर प्रेमानंदी देखो
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare.
He's available. He is very much needed
Okay, Srila Prabhupada ki.
No prasad. Mahapasad Govinde. Namo Brahmane Vaishnave. Svapa Punya Pinamrajan. Vishwasana Vijayate. Sarira Vidada. Jatandriyatehika. Jive Pele Vishaya Sagare. Adamai Vayati. Lobo Moisidonmati. Tache Keta Katina Samsare. Krishna Bora Doyamoy. Paribara Jiva Joy. Swat Prasadama Dinat Bai. Sena Mitapa. Radha Krishna Gunagam. Preme Jato Chitanya Nitai. Jani Mai Jani Tai. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya. Prabhu Nityananda. Shri Advaita Gadadhar. Shiva Shadi Gaur Bhakta Binda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Mahapasad ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Jai Jai Shri Radhe. Jai Jai Shri Radhe. Jai Jai Shri Radhe. Itai Gaura Premanande. So please take darshan of the deities and prasadam is served downstairs. Hare Krishna.